Heartwarming reveal: Black waitress dances tango like a pro, silencing a mocking Arab millionaire. Ava stood behind the counter of the bustling downtown café, her heart both heavy and light. She moved with grace through the sea of tables, her expressive eyes sparkling as she greeted customers like old friends. At a corner table, her daughter Mia sat with crayons in hand, absorbed in doodling. The comforting symphony of clinking cups and friendly banter filled the air, a backdrop that both grounded and inspired her. This café was more than a job, it was a lifeline for the community, a space where dreams mingled with daily struggles. Every shift, Ava poured her soul into her work. But deep down, a greater longing stirred within her, a passion for tango. She often imagined herself twirling elegantly across the stage, the music wrapping around her like a warm embrace. In stolen moments between orders, she watched tango videos on her phone, mesmerized by the dancers' fluid movements. It was a world where she could shed her responsibilities for just a breath, a fantasy that kept hope alive. Then, one fateful day, Omar stepped into the café. Dressed in sharp, tailored suits and exuding an air of superiority, he commanded attention without uttering a word. Ava approached him with her usual bright smile, eager to serve, unaware of the storm brewing beneath his confident facade. When he ordered his coffee, she chanced a casual mention of her tango dreams. The moment left her lips, Omar burst into laughter, a mocking sound that pierced the cozy atmosphere. "Really? You think you could dance like that? Please." His dismissal cut deep, the condescension hanging in the air like smoke. Ava's spirit deflated as the café's regulars, witnessing the exchange, exchanged glances filled with concern and indignation. They rallied around her, sharing stories of their own struggles for acceptance and dignity. The warmth of their support began to kindle a fire within Ava, a fierce determination to prove herself. Over the next few weeks, as a community event loomed on the horizon, Ava immersed herself in practicing her tango moves. Between shifts, she would whirl around the café, her heart racing with each step. Mia watched in wide-eyed admiration, her little feet tapping along with the rhythm. Ava's determination painted every movement with purpose, revealing not just a dance but a story of dreams forged amidst life's challenges. As the night of the community event arrived, the café transformed into a vibrant stage, buzzing with energy and laughter. The scent of freshly baked pastries mingled with the aromas of coffee, filling the room with life. When Ava stepped onto the makeshift dance floor, the atmosphere shifted, uncertainty grazing the crowd as she prepared to showcase her hard-earned passion. For a moment, silence fell, a tension that felt electric, charging the air around her. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen." Now let's continue. Ava began to dance, each movement resonating with her story, her struggles, her triumphs, her love for Mia. The audience held their breath. What started as mockery transformed into something else entirely. Omar's expression shifted, a flicker of shock in his eyes as he witnessed a raw display of resilience. With every step, she silenced her doubts and those of others. The room erupted into applause as she finished, a symphony of cheers honoring her spirit. Would Omar break through the walls he had built around himself, or would he remain cloaked in his privilege? The excitement hung thick in the air, all eyes waiting for the answer. As the applause washed over Ava like a wave, she stood frozen for just a moment, breathing in the love that surrounded her. That moment was everything she had worked for, the culmination of hopes, dreams, and unwavering spirit. Mia was the first to rush up to her, her tiny arms wrapping around Ava's waist with all the strength her little body possessed. "You were amazing, Mommy!" Mia exclaimed, her face glowing with pride as she beamed up at her. Ava knelt down, gripping her daughter's shoulders, her own heart racing. We did it together, little star, she whispered. This is our moment. As the crowd slowly began to disperse, many customers approached Ava, offering compliments and heartfelt congratulations. Their words were filled with admiration, but what buzzed in the back of her mind was the image of Omar. Had he noticed? Had he felt anything? She caught sight of him lingering at the edge of the crowd, a mix of surprise and something else in his gaze, a flicker of uncertainty that Ava had never seen before. With her heart pounding, she took a step toward him. The air felt thick, charged with tension and lingering emotions that had erupted during her performance. What did you think? She asked, her voice steady despite her racing heart. He hesitated, his typically confident demeanor faltering for a moment. I didn't expect that, he finally admitted, a hint of vulnerability creeping into his tone. You danced with passion. Ava searched his expression for genuine acknowledgement. There was a spark of something deeper than mockery, perhaps a realization of the power of dreams. His response was more profound than she could have ever anticipated. Passion is what makes us human. He looked away, as if struggling with an inner conflict. I'm not used to seeing that kind of thing, from someone like you. The implications of his words hung heavily in the air. Someone like me? Ava echoed, pride rising to the surface, pushing back against the sting of his underlying prejudice. Maybe you should open your eyes. Everyone has dreams, Omar. You just have to look a little closer. Suddenly, laughter erupted from a nearby table, breaking the tension. Ava turned to see a group of regulars from the café. They were cheering, calling her name. Come on, Ava. Let us celebrate. She turned back to Omar, her heart a mix of triumph and confusion. Thank you for coming. Maybe next time, you'll think twice about laughing at someone else's dreams. With that, she joined her friends, letting the energy of the moment sweep her into a celebration. As the evening continued, the walls around her heart began to crumble. Ava felt the warmth of acceptance, love, and community, a powerful reminder of everything she stood for, but the shadows of doubt crept back in when she found herself wondering about Omar's true intentions. Was this a chink in his armor, or just the beginning of a deeper confrontation with his beliefs? The thrill of her performance battled with uncertainty. The night faded, but the taste of victory lingered. Ava watched Mia twirling around with laughter, a reminder that dreams were meant to be shared and nurtured. And as the last of the guests filed out, only Omar remained, lost in thought. Ava took a deep breath, preparing to face him one last time. What transformation, if any, would blossom from this evening? Their exchange loomed large, ready to unravel deeper truths. What would happen next? Would Omar embrace the change within himself, or would he retreat to the safety of his privilege once again? Ava floated through the café, still buzzing from the performance. Laughter and music wrapped around her like a soft blanket, but her thoughts kept drifting back to Omar. He stood apart, leaning against the wall, a statue of contemplation amid the ebbing revelry. Mia! She called out, catching her daughter's twirl and spinning her around, their laughter joining the warm energy in the room. But part of Ava's heart still tugged toward Omar's distant figure. There was something about the way he had looked at her, a mix of surprise, maybe a hint of respect, and something that felt like an awakening. As she stepped away, urging Mia to join her friends playing nearby, Ava took a deep breath and walked back to Omar. Each step felt heavy, filled with the weight of unspoken words. Hey, she said, her voice gentle but curious as she approached him. I meant what I said earlier. I really hope you can see beyond what you thought you knew about me. Omar shifted his gaze to her, and the uncertainty was still there, but it was joined by something else, a flicker of understanding, perhaps? I never really considered it, he replied, his tone softer than before. Your dance made me rethink a lot. Rethink? She echoed, biologically amplifying that spark of hope. Yeah. A pause hung in the air between them, filled with contemplative silence. I guess I never thought someone like you could challenge my views, I grew up thinking certain things about people. It never even crossed my mind that I was wrong. Ava felt her heart lift. Admitting you're wrong is the first step, Omar. We all have to learn from each other. We carry so much baggage. It's what we do with that baggage that counts. He chuckled softly, a sound that mingled with the last notes of the celebration. I guess I'm just a bit stubborn. My family, they tend to judge without thinking. Family can do that, she replied, feeling the weight of their shared struggles. But it's never too late to change. Look, I danced tonight for all the people who've been told they don't belong. For every kid with dreams clouded by doubt. Omar looked at her, really looked, like he was peeling away the layers of a long-hidden truth. You inspire me, he admitted, the sincerity in his voice catching her off guard. Heat rushed to Ava's cheeks, but she held his gaze. That's what we all need, isn't it? A little inspiration to see beyond ourselves? He nodded slowly. Something shifted in his energy. I want to do better, he said earnestly. Not just for me, but for everyone around me. Maybe even for people I used to dismiss. Ava's heart swelled with hope. Could this be the beginning of his transformation? The moment when thoughts led to action? But before she could respond, Mia and her friends dashed over, their excited chatter breaking the tender moment. Mommy, come play with us. I think I'd better go. Ava smiled down at her daughter. She could feel Omar's eyes on her, a new warmth radiating from him. Will you be around? He asked, his question imbued with an urgency that hinted at something deeper than just a lingering conversation. Always, Ava replied, surprised by her own sincerity. As she joined Mia and the other children, she glanced back. Omar stood there, watching her, an enigmatic figure grasping at the dawn of change. That night turned into more than just a performance, it planted seeds of hope in the most unlikely of hearts. But would his newfound determination hold? Or would he fall back into the shadows of societal pressure? Those questions loomed large in her mind as the laughter of children rang like a promise of tomorrow. It was clear that this story was far from over. The next day was painted in shades of anticipation for Ava. The morning light poured through the window, illuminating the kitchen as she flipped pancakes, the sweet aroma filling the air. Mia danced around the room, her joy infectious. But as she scattered sprinkles of laughter, a part of Ava's mind drifted back to Omar. The cafe buzzed with chatter yesterday, but it was that moment with him that stayed with her like a melody. She couldn't shake the feeling that their connection, still delicate, could flourish into something profound. Maybe it was more than just dance, perhaps they were both in search of understanding. With Mia happily munching on a stack of pancakes, Ava grabbed her phone. She hesitated. Should she text Omar? Would he remember her as vividly as she remembered him? Her fingers hovered over the screen before she typed, Hey, Omar. Last night was great. Hope you're doing okay today. After a moment, as if refusing to release any sense of uncertainty, she pressed send. Minutes crawled by. Just as she began to doubt her decision, her phone buzzed. It was a response. Hey, Ava. Thank you for last night. Your performance was unforgettable. I'd love to meet up to chat more about everything. A wave of relief washed over her, warming her from the inside out. Excitement bubbled beneath the surface. How about coffee later? My treat. Sounds perfect, he replied, and they arranged to meet at a bustling café downtown. As Ava prepared for their meeting, she felt a blend of nerves and thrill. What would they even talk about? Would they delve deeper into their beliefs, their backgrounds? Or would it circle back to small talk? She dressed in a flowing sundress, something that felt easy yet playful, her go-to outfit for expressing herself. Later, as she walked through the cafe doors, her heart drummed with anticipation. There he was, seated at a table under the warm glow of fairy lights, looking thoughtful. Omar's casual attire highlighted his relaxed demeanor, but his eyes were sharp, scanning the crowd. When he saw her, his expression brightened, and Ava felt an exciting flutter in her stomach. Hey! He called, standing to greet her, the warmth in his smile contagious. Hey! She replied, feeling lighter as she took a seat across from him. I loved your message. Thanks for coming. Of course. It was important to me to keep this conversation going, he said, leaning forward as if to bridge the space between them. The conversation blossomed quickly. They laughed over their differences in taste, his love for Arabic coffee versus her obsession with vanilla lattes. But as they delved deeper into their stories, the laughter gave way to something electric. Ava shared her experiences with dance, the struggles she faced growing up, the fears she overcame. Omar listened intently, his eyes softening, revealing layers of vulnerability she hadn't yet glimpsed. I've done my share of assuming, he confessed later, his voice earnest. Hearing your story, it makes me look at my own assumptions differently. Change isn't easy, Ava replied, her voice sincere. But it's worth it when you start seeing people for who they truly are. The air between them shifted fuller, heavier with potential. For the first time, it felt as if they were weaving a tapestry of understanding that seamlessly blended their worlds. But just as hope surged within her, the door swung open, cutting through their connection. A familiar figure entered, eyes narrowing as they landed on Omar, a friend, or perhaps more like a rival. His expression hardened, dripping with judgment. Ava's heart sank, the sacred moment interrupted. What would this mean for Omar? Would he slip back into the shadows of Prejudice? Before she could voice her concern, Omar stood, tension radiating from him. His face hardened, the warmth fading for a heartbeat. Please don't go, she whispered, fear creeping in. What would happen next? Would he stand firm in his newfound resolve, or would the weight of expectations pull him back into an old narrative? The uncertainty hung in the air, thick and palpable, as they faced the looming storm. Ava's heart raced as she watched Omar's expression shift. The confidence he displayed moments ago felt like it was slipping away. She held her breath, waiting. The familiar figure sauntered closer, a cocky swagger in his step. Ava recognized him instantly. Amir. A well-known name, often accompanied by whispers of privilege and entitlement. The air around him felt charged, heavy with preconceived notions. Look who we have here, Amir's voice cut through the chatter, sharp and biting. His glare landed on Omar, then flicked to Ava, an unfamiliar look brewing in his eyes. Didn't he know you'd be hanging out with? He paused, letting the words linger, her. Omar clenched his jaw but held Amir's gaze, refusing to back down. Ava could feel the tension wrapping around them like a storm cloud threatening rain. What do you want, Amir? Omar replied, his voice steady though his body was taut. Just stopping by to see how my old friend is doing. I see you found a new hobby, Amir shot back, smirking at Ava. Every word dripped with disdain. It stung, and Ava felt a heat rise beneath her skin. She wanted to defend herself, to tell him she was more than just a hobby, but the words caught in her throat. Right, because your definition of worth has been so enlightening, Omar retorted, his tone a mix of anger and disappointment. The fire in his eyes flickered, revealing a depth of emotion that Ava hadn't seen before. Let us face it, Omar, Amir continued, a mocking lilt in his voice. You're wasting your time. This isn't the place for people like her. You should know that by now. Ava's heart clenched at the prejudice laced within Amir's words. But she wouldn't be reduced to that label. A sudden defiance bubbled inside her. She stood, pulling in a breath filled with courage. You don't know me, Amir, she stated, her voice stronger than she felt. And you don't get to decide who is worth someone's time. Omar looked at her, surprise flickering in his deep eyes. It felt like time paused for a brief second, the café's noise fading as she held Amir's gaze, like she was challenging the very roots of what he assumed to be true. Are you seriously going to lecture me on worth? Amir scoffed, crossing his arms. This is a waste of everyone's time. No, Omar interjected, his voice cutting through the tensions like a knife. "You're the one wasting this moment." The café's chatter around them resumed, but now it buzzed with a more attentive energy as other patrons noticed the unfolding drama. Ava turned back to Omar, searching his expression. She could see the internal battle he was fighting. "I didn't come here to hide," she said quietly, purpose clear in her heart. "I came here to show who I am." She reached for Omar's hand gently, grounding herself in their connection, willing him to see the strength in their bond. "We've talked about change, about seeing each other. I won't let anyone erase that." The layers of tension shifted again as Omar squeezed her hand. His expression softened, the warmth returning as he faced Amir once more. "It doesn't matter what you think, Amir. There's more to Ava than you'll ever understand." He turned to her, eyes unwavering. "I want to embrace that." The air crackled with resolve, yet uncertainty loomed, wrapping its fingers around them. What would happen from here? Would Omar withdraw back into the shadows of societal expectations, or would he stand firmly by her side? At that moment, Ava knew one thing: every challenge could either swallow them or teach them to rise like a phoenix. Which path would they choose? As Amir's cold gaze bore into them both, a wave of doubt crashed over her. Would they find strength in unity, or would the looming judgment shadow their budding relationship? The answer hung in the air like the last notes of a haunting melody, leaving Ava torn between hope and fear, eager for the next step. Ava felt the weight of Amir's glare digging into her, the tension thick enough to slice. But where fear might have chained her, new resolve unfurled. She was not just a silent bystander in this narrative, she was an active character, and for once, she decided to write her own lines. "Let us not turn this into a circus," she countered, her voice cutting through the thick atmosphere, startling even herself with the clarity and strength it carried. "You think you know everything, Amir, but the world isn't just a stage for your show." Amir blinked, momentarily taken aback. Omar wore a proud smile, an unexpected shift that sent warmth radiating through her. The café had quieted down, patrons turned ever so slightly, all eyes now on the trio, curious for a glimpse of the clash unfolding. This was her moment. Ava took a steadying breath, letting the harshness of Amir's words remind her of the things people had said before. She had been labeled too often, molded into someone she wasn't. And not anymore. "I want to be your punchline," she stated firmly, her heart repeating the mantra as she stood grounded beside Omar. Omar's hand clutched tighter around hers, a soft affirmation that said he stood with her. The solidarity sent a rush of adrenaline through her, igniting her sense of purpose. But Amir, stung by the unexpected resistance, doubled down. "Save the dramatics, Ava. It's embarrassing to watch you defend what you clearly don't understand," he shot back, his voice dripping with contempt. The whispers from tables nearby reached her ears. Some were not just observing but engaging, voices laced with sympathy and surprise. She knew then that public perception could either enhance or destroy, yet amid it all, Omar seemed to shine in her corner, his support like armor against Amir's contempt. "You think it's embarrassing?" Omar stepped forward, his tone low but powerful. "It's time to grow up, Amir. To realize the world is changing, and people aren't just your toys to belittle. Ava is more than you could ever comprehend." Amir's smirk faltered, revealing a flicker of unease. But instead of capitulating, he leaned into the tension, his dark eyes narrowing. "Then let us see how far you two can push against the tide," he said, as if challenging them to prove their worthiness. Ava felt a pulsing mixture of fear and excitement. This was a defining moment, a battle of wills, not just between them but within them as well. Could they withstand Amir's venomous reaches, or would they crumble under societal pressures? "Let us get out of this place," Omar suggested suddenly, as if he sensed the heat rising. "We don't need this." But Ava's feet stayed planted. "No. This is not just about us leaving. It's about standing here and being seen." Her voice echoed with an undercurrent of righteousness, defiance at its core. In that instant, Amir laughed sarcastically, but the sound lacked confidence. It was shaky, like he was losing ground and he didn't quite know how to regain it. Fine. Be the stars of your sorry show. Just know, you'll always be overlooked. She turned to Omar, lingering in his gaze, looking for a silent question that begged for answers that could only come with choice. They had to show that their love could stir the pot, ripple through the very fabric of the expectations set for them. Amir, it's your privilege that blinds you, she replied, feeling her courage kick higher. Maybe it's time for you to learn what real worth looks like. The murmurs intensified, a wave of energy gathering momentum around them, fueled by Ava's conviction. The rawness in the café shifted, transforming the air into something palpable. The moment felt electric, and Ava could hear the collective breath being held. She was no longer just a pawn in Amir's game. She was a force, yet, just as victory seemed to glimmer on the horizon, Amir's eyes narrowed, ire brewing. With a cocky grin, he said, "Just remember, Ava. The higher you climb, the harder the fall." A chill danced down her spine as she tried to quell the rising concern. But under the weight of his words and the shifting tension in the air, Ava couldn't shake the feeling that their journey was only just beginning. Would they conquer the chaos that surrounded them, or would they have to face Amir's darkest plots yet? The uncertainty, ripe with a mixture of hope and anxiety, simmered just beneath the surface, pushing them toward the next chapter of their story. The heat was still palpable in the café, but Ava felt an unfamiliar calm wash over her as the tension crackled in the air. She stood her ground, expelling the anxiety that curled in her stomach. Amir's mocking grin tugged at the corners of his lips, but beneath it, she saw uncertainty flicker like a candle's flame. "What's your next move? An emotional speech?" Amir shot back, but his tone wavered. A hint of worried curiosity danced in his eyes. "Maybe," Ava replied, determination threading through her voice. "But it won't be for you. It'll be for everyone who feels unheard, everyone who has ever doubted their worth." Omar's grip on her hand tightened, adding strength. He leaned closer, his breath warm against her ear. "You've got this, Ava," he whispered. A wave of warmth surged through her. This was more than a confrontation, it was a testament to everything she fought against. She looked at the gathered crowd, searching for those eyes that mirrored her fight. A scattered few nodded, as if empowering her with silent agreement, urging her on. "Let us show them what real courage looks like," Ava declared, raising her voice, clarity cutting through the café's din like a knife. "Amir believes he can belittle us, dictate our worth. But the truth is, we have power too. We have a voice." The patrons shifted, a restless murmur rippling through them. Ava felt their eyes locking on her, curiosity and support simmering among them. Behind her, the barista, an older woman with kind eyes, leaned closer, hearing the rising tide of conviction in Ava's words. "Did you hear that?" The woman whispered to a nearby table. "She's right. We all have worth." "Yes," came a voice from the back, gaining momentum like a rallying cry. "You tell him." Amir scoffed, but his bravado was straining against the swell of unity taking root in the café. "This isn't some inspirational movie, Ava," he warned, though his words were losing their bite. "Maybe it should be." She fired back. "Maybe it's about time we rewrite the script." Omar stepped forward, confidence radiating off him like heat. "You may think you own the stage, Amir, but this is our reality, and you can't dictate how it unfolds." The shift was palpable. People leaned in, some whispering encouraging words. Ava took a step toward Amir, feeling the surge of strength transform the discourse from skirmish to a declaration of their authenticity. "Every time you put someone down, you expose your own insecurities," Ava continued, voice steady. "That's what real embarrassment looks like." Anger flared in Amir's eyes, but underneath it, she glimpsed fear of losing control, of being overshadowed by those he deemed lesser. "Enough with the philosophy. You're out of your depth, Ava," he said. But the room was transforming. A kind of electric expectancy thrummed in the air, rising from their newfound defiance. The barista spied a group of patrons whispering, probably in support of Ava. "Let us celebrate," she called out, her voice carrying an unexpected authority as she grabbed a CD from the counter. "Let us show Amir what real talent looks like." She hit play, and the lively music spilled into the café, filling the space with rhythm. Caught in a surge of spontaneity, Ava saw the older woman step out from behind the counter and begin to dance a beautiful tango, graceful and free. Laughter erupted, blending with the music, drawing everyone's spirits up. Ava watched in awe as patrons began to join in, the environment pulsing with life, transforming hostility into exhilaration. Maybe Amir thought he could pull the strings and diminish their light, but the truth was unraveling before him. As more began to dance, including some who had once sat silently, the burden of Amir's words slipped away, replaced by an unexpected lightness, fueled by the overwhelming support. Ava thought about each step she took. She was ready to shed the skin of her past fear, to forgive herself for ever allowing it to hold her back. But the question remained: would Amir take a final stand, or would he fade against the backdrop of a story much larger than himself? And as she caught Omar's eye, each of them moving with the beat, a realization hit her hard: they were no longer just fighting back. They were creating something beautiful together. But just as they spun under the amazing chaos, Ava felt someone tug at her shirt gently, an unexpected reminder that she was about to face the real challenge ahead. What would Amir do next? Ava felt the tug again, a gentle reminder of reality amidst the whirlwind of newfound freedom. She turned her head slightly, finding a small girl, no more than 7, her eyes wide with wonder. The girl's face was tinged with innocent curiosity, mirroring the joy that now enveloped the café. "Can I dance too?" the girl asked, her voice rising above the lively music. Ava smiled, her heart swelling. It was a simple request, yet it was profound in the way it captured the moment they were all sharing. "Of course. Come join us." Ava held out her hand, and without hesitation, the girl ran forward, taking hold of Ava's fingers. The warmth of her tiny hand sparked an urgency in Ava. This wasn't just about standing against Amir anymore. They were nurturing hope, solidarity, and a sense of community. Amir watched from the sidelines, his bravado slipping further. The laughter, the dancing, the spirit, he was losing control. He opened his mouth, perhaps to say something cutting, but the message clamoring for release faded before it could take form. The café had transformed before his eyes. As patrons danced with each other, they embodied the very essence of resilience. A canvas of vibrant colors, they painted a scene Amir had never anticipated. Each footfall resonated with a collective heartbeat. "Look!" one of the older men shouted, trying to rally attention as he twirled another patron around. "This is what it means to stand together." The barista, still moving gracefully alongside them, called out, "Dance like no one's watching. Dance like you're worth isn't in the hands of a mocker." It was contagious. A burst of laughter and enthusiastic cheers rippled through the crowd, wrapping around Amir like a thicket from which he couldn't escape. Ava, enveloped by the moment, spun into the rhythm. Her heart raced. She was no longer fighting for approval, she was dancing for joy, freedom, for every voice that had been silenced before. And as the little girl tried to mimic her movements, giggles spilling from her lips, Ava bent down. "Just feel the music, sweetie. Let it guide you." With that, the girl kicked her legs up, spinning like a tiny whirlwind. Ava's smile was uncontrollable. This moment wasn't just for the adults, it was a celebration for everyone, a reminder that joy could actively defy negativity. Amir's face darkened. The mockery he always saw in himself began to fade as he witnessed everyone, even those he thought weak, rising together. He clenched his fists, frustration painting his features. This wasn't just an embarrassing outburst anymore, it stood like a wall against his past humiliations, and it scared him. But as voices rose higher and higher, drowning out his internal turmoil, Amir felt vulnerable. His confidence had always thrived on the dismissal of others. Here, it crumbled. "Stop this!" he finally yelled, slicing through the lively atmosphere. The music softened, and heads turned toward him, confusion hinting at their faces. Ava stood tall, hands still clutching the girl's. "You wanted to silence us, Amir," she called out firmly. "But look at this, there's no room for that anymore." What hung in the air was palpable, an invitation to rise against him, to acknowledge the shift. Amir faced the crowd, eyes blazing. "You think this is enough? This is just noise." But even he realized that this noise was becoming an anthem, one he couldn't simply erase. Ava's heart thundered in her chest, a mixture of triumph and trepidation. "Amir, we're not just making noise. We're defining ourselves, creating a space where everyone belongs." And then, like a sudden storm, Amir's expression changed. Ava could see realization dawning in his gaze. "You don't get to choose who belongs anymore, do you?" she pressed, feeling the momentum shift, the air crackling with a charged tension. But just then, the little girl beside her asked in a voice as clear as the ringing of a bell, "What does that mean for you, Amir?" The question cut deeper than any knife. What did it mean for him? Ava could only watch, holding her breath for the answer that would shape everything. The moment hung heavily in the air, all eyes awaiting Amir's response. What would he reveal next? The café fell silent, the vibrant energy replaced by a thick tension. All eyes fixed on Amir, waiting for a response. He stood there, his bravado dissolving like mist in the morning sun. "What does it mean for me?" he echoed, and the weight of the question pressed down on him. He looked around, unnerved by the expectant faces. The laughter, the dancing, everything he dismissed as trivial was now a fortress built against his scorn. Ava felt her heart racing, longing for him to answer. "It means you're not just a spectator anymore," she stated gently, her voice cutting cleanly through the air. "It means you're part of this too." The little girl squeezed Ava's hand tighter, as if the warmth of their connection could reach Amir. "You can dance," she chirped, her innocent joy breaking the lingering heaviness. "Just like us." Amir's facade crackled under the weight of their open challenge. He was not used to this, being invited in rather than pushed away. He took a shaky breath, his mouth twitching as he wrestled with the swirling emotions within. Could he really step into that moment? The crowd shifted, murmurs of encouragement rising like a wave. They believed he could join them, that he could shed his past. "You've always been the outsider, haven't you?" Ava pressed softly, a touch of compassion lacing her words. "But maybe it's time to change that." There was a flicker in Amir's eye, a glimmer of hope that threatened to break through the walls he had built. What would it mean to dance with them? Suddenly, the thought of stepping into their world didn't seem as terrifying. "Everyone deserves a chance," one of the older men called out. "Don't let fear hold you back." Ava smiled at Amir, urging him silently to embrace the moment. "Just feel the music," she encouraged, echoing her earlier words to the little girl. "Let it guide you." He hesitated, glancing around at the crowd, their eyes shining with anticipation. They weren't here to judge him. They were extending a hand, calling him to join a celebration he didn't know existed. Amir clenched his fists, the struggle for acceptance tightening around him. But another part of him yearned for connection, for belonging. Slowly, he moved forward, feelers of fear grasping at his heart but beaten down by the swell of courage rising from the crowd. I can't dance," he finally admitted, his voice quivering slightly with self-doubt. "Everyone can dance if they just try." The girl exclaimed, her face lighting up with determination. For a moment, silence enveloped them all again, but this time it was different. It wasn't oppressive. It was charged, electric, as if they were holding their breath, waiting for Amir to take that step. Ava took a step forward too, extending both hands toward him. "You're not alone, Amir. Take the leap." Doubt flickered briefly across his face. Then he swallowed hard, a resolve building inside him like a muscle he hadn't used in years. What if I fail? He finally said, the vulnerability in his voice cutting through the expectant murmur. Then we all fail together and that's okay, Ava replied, her voice unwavering. We learn, we laugh, we embrace even the mistakes. That's life, right? Amir looked around, seeing community in their faces, their laughter, their acceptance. The air shifted, warm and inviting. Okay, he decided, the word trembling on his lips as he moved to Ava's side. He took a deep breath, figuring out the rhythm, tapping his foot lightly to the music that still played softly in the background. But the next moment was interrupted by a loud crash. The door flung open, and a figure entered, jarring and disruptive amidst this budding unity. Amir. What are you doing? An authoritative voice called from the entrance, filled with disbelief. Ava's heart raced again as all eyes turned to the newcomer. The air thickened with confusion, and she felt the surge of anticipation screech to a halt. Who was this person, and what would it mean for Amir now stepping out into the light? The momentum of the moment hung precariously. What would happen next? Ava's heart sank as she recognized the person stepping through the doorway. A tall man in a crisp suit, immaculately groomed yet radiating intimidation, emerged into the café, exuding authority with each step. Amir's father. What are you doing with them? He barked, scanning the room as if searching for an affront to his family's reputation. The joy that had enveloped the café, the laughter and dance that had birthed a new unity, felt fragile in that instant, like a bubble ready to burst. Ava's grip on the little girl's hand tightened, bracing for the impact. The atmosphere had shifted, tension coiling like a spring. Amir faltered, torn between the warmth of connection and the heaviness of expectations that had followed him all his life. He began, but his father cut in, voice cold and firm. This isn't who you are. You have responsibilities to maintain. Associating with these people reflects poorly on us. His dismissive tone dripped with disdain, and Ava felt an electric current of anger coil within her. Dad, I'm not a project to be controlled. Amir retorted, his voice wavering between doubt and determination. The crowd shifted uncomfortably, holding their breath, sensing the crucial turning point in Amir's journey. Enough! His father thundered, a grip of iron tightening around Ahmed's heart. But Amir stood, body tense, as he faced the familiar chains that threatened to constrain him. I'm tired of what you think I should be. I've seen that there's more to this life than titles and expectations. I'm learning that worth isn't dictated only by family or wealth. With that, the atmosphere shifted once more, hearts united in an unspoken solidarity. Amir's father looked taken aback, momentarily speechless as gasps traveled through the crowd. Who do you think you're talking to? He snapped, trying to regain control, but Amir held his ground, defiance mingling with something that felt like freedom. I'm talking to you as your son. I want to dance, I want to live. He shouted, the weight of his conviction echoing through the café. A flicker of confusion crossed Amir's father's face, a crack in the armor. Ava seized the moment, her voice rising above the storm. Real worth is about connections, about being true to yourself. Even in the face of those who don't understand. The little girl beside her looked up at Amir, eyes wide with admiration, the innocence of childhood shining untouched by prejudice. Will you dance now? She asked, her voice a sweet melody amidst the turmoil. A glimmer flickered across Amir's face, his father's disapproving frown softening for just a moment as he glanced around, taking in the vibrant life swirling around him. I don't know how, Amir admitted, the bravado slipping. Ava stepped closer, her encouragement turning courageous. You just have to let the music guide you. Follow your heart. Then, as the music rose again, filled with buoyant energy, Ava gently nudged Amir to move toward her. The crowd began to cheer him on, urging him to take steps into the rhythm of freedom that awaited him. He hesitated, but then, surrounded by support, he closed his eyes and took a deep breath, letting the spell of the music wash over him. One tentative step, then another, and with every movement, uncertainty began shedding away. The crowd erupted into applause, a chorus of support filling the air. The joy soared, almost palpable, igniting a spark within Amir like never before. "See?" Ava smiled brightly. "Just let go." More moves followed, clumsy and uncertain at first. Amir found his footing, the rhythm cradling him. As he twirled and stumbled, laughter erupted around him, not mockery, but joy. Freedom echoed in every beat. "What's happening?" his father questioned, bewilderment etched across his features as he watched his son transform before his eyes. In that moment, Amir was not just the wealthy heir bound by expectations. He was a person finding his voice and strength. The laughter of the crowd became a symphony, celebrating their own experiences of resilience. In that embrace of humanity, Amir danced, and as his father stood frozen, a heart-stopping question resounded in the café: would he accept his son's newfound freedom, or would he cling to the rules of the past? Ava held her breath, aware that Amir's next decision would define not just his future but the bridge that could heal the divide between them. "Amir," his father finally said, his voice cracking, "this is not what I expected." "I'm not either, Dad, but maybe that's the point." Amir's voice rang clear, vulnerability blending with strength as he locked eyes with both Ava and the little girl. "Maybe it's time we all learn to dance in our own way." The café erupted in applause, and Amir's movements became fluid, embracing the beauty of imperfection. Laughter and cheers lifted the moment, wrapping around all who had participated. Then suddenly, Amir's father stepped forward. "I still don't understand," he began, uncertainty filtering through his usual authoritative tone. "That's okay," Amir replied, the warmth in his voice clear and firm. "But I do now. And I hope you'll be willing to learn too." And as the doors swung wide, breaths held in expectation, the café bathed in music and movement began to realize that even the hardest of hearts could dance free. Together they swayed, laughter ringing out an anthem marking the dawn of transformation within their lives. Ava watched the scene unfold, her heart swelling with a joy that spilled into a sunbeam of hope, reminding them all that life is a dance, sometimes messy, often beautiful, but absolutely worth every step taken toward belonging. And behind them, whispers of encouragement danced in the air, a gentle reminder: we all have our own story to write. The journey wasn't over, it had just begun. As the night melted into the early hours, Ava's spirit soared among her friends, knowing this was just the start of something beautiful, a community boldly walking forward, hand in hand, ready to share their dreams. Subscribe immediately to this channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment below your reactions and feelings about the ending. Share this video instantly with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Don't wait not even one more second to share. Your support makes all the difference.